All right, call the regular business meeting to order, please. The meetings will be videotaped by the township. Is anyone else recording the meeting? Okay. Board of Supervisors minutes of December 4th, 2013. Do I hear approval of the minutes?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Acceptance of reports, I'm sure you've all read them. The committee, the commission, the council reports is posted and received by the Board of Supervisors. Do I hear a motion to accept them?
Make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Are there
Can I
any?
just make one little comment? I'd like to publicly thank Nixon Serapino, our roads master, for the work that he did last Thursday or last Friday morning in the wee hours of clearing our roads.
Did he really?
Yes, he did.
Wow.
3:30 a.m. coming home from New York City, and our roads in Schuylkill Township were better cleared than in Valley Forge Park.
Is that right? Was he all the way up there?
We were coming up Paul Lemon, and we waved to each other. Sure.
Okay, thank you very much.
He deserves it.
He
They
more than
all do.
he more
They
than
all
deserves
do.
it. Yeah.
The team was marvelous.
I don't think anybody really understands what a tremendous team that we have here in this township. Between the township supervisors, I keep saying it, but I would like to hope that our taxpayers get to realize how cohesive and how well they get along between the police department, the fire department, the roads. We're just a tremendously well-oiled machine, and we do very well at it. We don't have very many arguments or discussions or things that go on that are nasty at all. All right, let's go to our treasurer, Martha.
I just have a comment to make. We all do know that Mary is not able to be with us this evening, and she hasn't been with us for the past few days. Mary usually fills out the treasurer's report, and I review it with her. There are some things that are missing in this month's treasurer's report. We do have an interim treasurer's report that I can report on, and that we can approve, but it will have to wait until we can get everything all together. There were some things that we just didn't have access to at this point. As of
He signed them all, I think.
December 31st, thank you. As of December 31st,
I haven't signed them.
in our general fund account, we have just over $1.9 million. This will get us through until March to help us pay our bills. So we're actually in really good shape. But this number, again, it will change. This is just an interim and some information here. So if you have any questions, I would ask that you wait until we get our more defined numbers, if that's okay with you guys.
So I can add, the final will be up for approval at your next meeting.
Yes.
So there will be a final review and approval of the final.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. And I did review all of the bills this afternoon. I did not get a chance to sign all of the checks, but I did review all the invoices and the bills, and everything is in order and ready to be paid.
So I hear a motion to accept the report?
So move.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Are there any announcements? None to be said. Is there any more public participation on any item that is on the agenda? There being none, we'll move right on into the old business. Legal matters, Bill?
Briefly, Fred, there are two police matters I'd like to discuss in executive session and discuss generally the PASD situation and the Bentley letter of credit. There'll be very brief comments at the end.
What's the latest on Kurowski or?
Ozarowski?
Yeah.
We're proceeding with our motion to collect the taxpayers' legal fees. Depositions were today, and the briefs will be filed in about 30 days. The judge will decide whether we get our money back or not.
Okay. Did you ever get an answer or a response from Charlestown on the letter that we sent
No
to them?
response.
None.
Okay. Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to new business, folks. First of all, excuse me, I'm sorry. Does anyone have any other old business? Okay, let's move to new business. The motion to approve the topics or events for 4 times a year at the Phoenixville Country Club.
So, I'll second.
Any discussion? The only discussion I would have on that is there could be a change in the topic of one or so, but the dates and everything, the way they're set up, I think are great, and I will vote for that. But I think there's something you and I may better talk about, discussing
Sure.
on that.
Well, and so those of you and the few who are here in the public understand, we, as part of our agreement with the Phoenixville Country Club, the township receives 4 free meetings a year to be held. And so in the past 2 years, we've held them once a quarter. Where the first meeting has generally been an open town forum where residents have an opportunity to meet the chairs of all our councils and commissions, and those groups kind of put forward their agendas for the upcoming year and answer questions from the public. This year on Thursday, June 14th, a woman who has Miss Uhler. Thank you. I can't pronounce it. I can spell it, but I can't pronounce it. In any case, she has written a book about Moore Hall, which is a very historic structure in Schuylkill Township. The September meeting is still open, and I have put out to our committees and chairs.
I have
Actually,
some
Barbara, I have an
suggestions.
idea for that, but I would like to discuss it outside of a public
Sure.
meeting, if that's all right with
And
you guys.
then the first Saturday in November will be Founder's Day,
Okay.
as has been in the past.
All right, let's move on. Discussion of 50 Lafayette Drive.
If I can introduce this, Fred, you may recall last year that we changed the procedures here in the township so that the supervisors would be more aware of zoning hearing board applications. Mr. Fury is here on behalf of his client, Mr. Schricker, 50 Lafayette Drive, to advise the board concerning an upcoming hearing. And as we discussed last year, generally speaking, in these situations, the board makes a decision as to whether to appear and oppose by sending me or to remain neutral. In rare cases, the board may support an application, but generally speaking, supporting is not appropriate because that is often seen as invading the province of the zoning hearing board as to whether they should or should not grant certain relief. So the purpose of this is to make sure you're aware of what's coming in. We're not going to bother you with, deck extensions or things like that, but matters that could be of some significance are called to your attention. Mr. Fury is here, and he has the floor.
Thank you very much, members of the board. Mike Fury, attorney from Audubon, across the river here. Thank you for your time this evening. We only take a few minutes of your time to review with you the application that we intend to make to the zoning hearing board. We've not yet made the application. We wanted to come before the board of supervisors first, let you know what our issues are, what we're dealing with, and then we're going to go ahead and make application to the zoning hearing board. I have with me this evening my client, Joshua Schricker. Josh is here on behalf of his parents, actually. As parents purchased the property, Josh was the power of attorney. His parents are out in Ohio right now. Be moving here, and I'll have Josh explain to you what the plans are with regard to the house and the renovations. But first, I have packets, just a little bit of information. The first page of each of the packets is just the authorization from Don and Julia Schricker to
Thank you.
sure to act on behalf Josh act on their behalf. And the next page is actually a letter from the neighbor with regard to the property. Third page is a plan of the property. This is a house, a single-family house at 50 Lafayette Road.
Where is Lafayette Road?
It's right off of 23, north of 23.
Right off of 23.
All 23 across from Knowledge Commons.
Oh, okay. I know exactly what you mean now. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No problem.
And then there's a existing floor plan and a floor plan attached there as well. The other thing that we have for you is, and attached to this is also another copy of the one plan for the lot. But this also shows the setbacks with regard to the property. This is an existing house, has been existing for many years, and we'll get into a little bit of the history of what Josh determined after they went to closing on the property in May of 2013, purchasing the property from Fannie Mae. So like I said, the house has been vacant for a number of years, and Joshua, on behalf of his parents, purchased the house in May of 2013 from Fannie Mae with the intention to renovate. After closing, architectural engineering plans were being prepared, and the consultants determined that there was some history, at least with regard to one of the additions on the property. There's an enclosed porch encroaching on the side yard setback, if you can see, on the one side. There's also a rear yard issue as well. It doesn't seem that has caused too much of a concern, but we would probably be asking for relief there. But anyways,
Slow down, Mike. So are you saying the pool house may extend over the property line?
yeah, the pool house has to be moved. That can't extend.
It goes over the property line, is that right?
That needs to be moved.
And where is this, the brick patio here is on, is here.
The side yard concern is right here.
Okay, this is what we're talking about,
Yep.
right? All right, so
Which
the
one,
brick,
where is that?
Yeah, the side yard concern, let me get you
back page.
another plan right there, yep.
This one.
Side yard concern
This,
is right
yeah,
here.
right here,
Okay.
okay.
So there's a brick patio right up against the side yard.
No, that's it. Yep, perfect. Oh, there's a brick patio, okay. Yep, we're good, thank you.
There's a brick patio right up against the side yard, is that correct?
Yeah, but we're more concerned, I mean, that's the house right there.
Okay.
So it's that line right there which shows the edge of the house within a few feet of this side yard of the Reedies right there. Is the main concern right there.
Now, where is the addition we're talking about?
This right here basically is the addition.
All right, so the addition that was put on, there's no separate line showing the addition,
No,
but the addition brought the existing house much closer to the Reedy's line, is that right?
it was a porch that was enclosed, really, that's the way we understand it. Apparently, this was brought to the township's attention 30 years ago, and Mr. Talarico, who owned the property at the time, made application to the zoning hearing board. You have to understand that Josh found this out after he purchased the property, when the consultants came to the township to do some research and prepare the plans.
So, excuse me, sir, so our zoning ordinances were in place at that point?
Yeah, right, yeah, it's the same thing, it was the same at the time, it was 15 feet side yard setback for properties with public water and public sewer, and you have the same setback.
But the porch was going right up to the line?
Pardon me?
The porch was going right up to the line?
Yeah, apparently, the porch went up for the line, and Mr. Talarico apparently enclosed it, and,
No, the porch shouldn't have been allowed to have been built up to the line.
yeah, I don't know.
It was 30 years ago.
Yeah, well, but that's why I asked about the zoning
But
ordinance.
we're having a little bit of trouble actually tracking down the history here, and I'll get into that a little bit more
Yes.
and explain to you. So, from what we can tell, from what we can tell, the zoning hearing board denied the relief, basically because the
Okay.
gentleman next door had opposed, I think, the relief at the time.
Excuse me, Mike, just to be clear, the request for relief, was that done before the work was done? In other words?
No, I don't think so. Doesn't
No.
appear to. According to the, now listen, this is 30 years ago, so I don't know.
Okay.
According to the decision, it looks like the work had been done, and he was
Okay.
coming in to legitimize it.
Okay, and it was
Yes.
refused, okay.
And knowing the name of the person,
So, he was denied. This was 30 years ago. In February of 1984, neighbor objected, he was denied. So then there were citations and letters from the township solicitor, you have to remove it. And there was a permit issued in May of 1985 to demolish it. Now, the interesting thing about this is you would think when, you know, someone comes to buy a property, you say, well, go to the township building and look at the records and say, well, you would know this problem before you went to close it.
Right.
Interestingly enough, if you look at the township records, now, you know, Josh didn't come look at the records beforehand, but if he had, he would have found these minutes in the township meeting. And the minutes of the township meeting, interestingly enough, and if you follow through each of the minutes, you can see the history here in that apparently there was some urging from the township and citations and notices and
There were some fines, weren't there?
fines, all trying to get Mr. Tallarico to comply. So the very last page says that the addition was, the illegal portion of the building has been removed.
Right.
Now, let me stop you right there, because we have been in this. Now, we don't know whether the encroaching area was removed and rebuilt, or we don't know whether the property owner lied to the supervisors and the supervisors then did not follow up. But it was one or the other of those two things that happened, but the minutes reflect that the illegal portion of the building has been removed.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, see, when I look at these minutes, it's not clear to me that this is a report from actual Mr. Tallarico. It appears to be a township report that the illegal portion of the building's been removed. I don't know that it matters much, but quite frankly, it looks like, if this is accurate, it was then rebuilt again, sometime, I imagine, without permits, and because we haven't been able to find permits. All of this unbeknownst to us, and of course, Josh is buying property from Fannie Mae, so it's an unsuspecting buyer coming in and purchasing the property for his parents. Now, we will say, in 2011, the neighbor next door had expressed some concern with regard to the condition of the property. Josh has approached those neighbors. You'll see their letter. They're,
Yes.
basically in support, and they're the ones most adversely affected by the addition. And realize, of course, this property has been the same way for decades. And apparently the neighbors bought the property with that addition there, apparently did not buy their property because of the addition so close. So they don't have objection, they don't want any further encroachments, and we understand that. We're willing to, of course, comply with that. But they didn't buy the property as a tear. What we're trying to do is just keep it the way it is. We'll have to move the pool house. He also didn't know that was encroaching, but we'll have to get that straight.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Does this house have a basement?
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
And I'm gonna have Josh explain the reason for the renovations, what renovations you'd like to do, and what he's done so far. Mostly, from what I understand, what you've done is mold remediation, that's it. Yeah. Then we had to stop, because, and here's the thing, we need permits to keep going, we need permits to occupy. If we went to sell the property, we would need, to deal with this issue, we can't use the property as it currently is.
When this first came up, if I can jump in, Barbara and I talked about it, Mary and I had several discussions about it, and the thought was, look, why don't you leave well enough alone, because we're not gonna, it's not something that's on our radar right now. However, if you wanna clean it up, you have to go to the zoning hearing board and get a variance, because they have the power to cleanse all of this. However, if you go to the zoning hearing board and lose, then you could be opening up Pandora's box, because then we would officially know about it, and then we have a situation where it's too close to the line, so it's a gamble. But I do appreciate Mr. Fury and his client's desire to do the right thing, which is go to the zoning hearing board, because that's the only way to solve this problem. We can't grant them permission. What happened, in 1980 or whatever happened, and that's it. So I think it's the right move. Now, they're taking a risk doing that, but the purpose here is they don't want you to send me to oppose it, because I would, upset the apple cart there, I guess. Right?
Well, obviously, if the board of supervisors opposes the application for the zoning hearing board, it's a concern as far as our application goes. Yes, Mr. Morris?
Yeah, I've got another question here. There's this property next door owned by, I can't read the fine print.
Reese? Is that how you spell it?
Regan, yeah. What's the setback situation with them from their house versus the property line?
Hasn't been measured.
Does it look like there's more than enough or something less, or you know?
Looks like it's about 15 feet.
About 15, okay.
I don't know that for a fact.
The reason I ask is maybe a possible solution, and this is obviously have to be worked out with a neighbor, is purchase a buffer strip to basically split the difference.
I believe that was tried back in the early 80s, and I don't think there was enough land.
No.
I think also there was an objection from the old neighbor versus Mr. Talarico to do such a thing.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a mutual agreement.
And I did not measure, just driving down, it looks fairly close, but I don't know.
And this house has been there for 30 years with that additional.
Well, we don't know when
Yeah.
when this was put back up, we don't.
Now, here's another thing that just occurred to me. Yeah, we have some houses in the township, not in this zoning district, but planned development, okay? And I'm thinking specifically Potter's Pond, where you've got maybe 20 feet between single-family homes, which really turns on its ear our setbacks. But that was a special development that was approved, and I'm not sure about all the setback details there, but when you look at it, that's what you're looking at.
Yeah, you have the cluster development
Yeah,
with the reduced.
and we got open space out of the deal.
Yeah, sure.
So in other words, my point is there is some degree of precedent for getting buildings that close to each other.
Oh, yeah.
Not necessarily too close, but that close.
Oh, sure, yeah, cluster developments all over the place would have similar types of separation between the buildings, that's what I think.
Yeah.
Mr. Morrison, and, yeah, and like I said, the neighbor, Josh went over, talked to him, we had conversations, so they wrote a letter, they're fine.
All the work's internal?
Yes, and I'm gonna have Josh explain.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me give you kind of a background of what happened here. My father has MS, and
Okay.
We are moving him into this area so I can help take care of end-of-life care. And because of all the renovations that are needed for a handicapped accessible home, we decided that instead of buying a nice house and having to tear it all apart, we would start with a house that needed to be torn apart anyway. And that's kind of how we came to this property, because it has a very large footprint on the first floor. So yeah, I want to tell you that's the purpose of purchasing the house. We're not flippers. We're not, anything like that. My parents intend to move into this property. The major things that need to be done, the roof has to be repaired. It's leaky. There's a portion of the roof that is a flat roof, and we want to make that a standard pitched roof.
Yep.
So that it looks more like the rest of the neighborhood and is nicer. We are going to have to replace windows, doors, replace sidings, repair the concrete and patio areas. We are also going to have to install an elevator in the interior of the house,
Okay.
So that my father can get in on the basement level and be brought up to the first floor.
He's coming into the basement, and then, do you have a walkout?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you'll have an access into the basement and then up? Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
I would like to just say that, for the sake of transparency,
No problem.
I was in contact with Mr. Schweiker, got in touch with me, because Jen Mayo was the real estate broker in there, and while it's my responsibility as a supervisor to be neutral in this instance, I do think that this gentleman is taking the high road in approaching this in a way that he did not anticipate when he
Yep.
purchased this place to make a better setting for his family. So I'd just like to thank you for the approach that you're taking, the cost that you're incurring because of that, in doing something for your family. I find that very admirable.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, we are just basically here trying to find a good resolution. From our neighbors, the neighbors, that they called the police, and the police actually came out and reviewed, the condition of the house, and the officer there said that he did have firsthand knowledge that the addition was actually torn down and it was rebuilt, but unfortunately, all of those officers have retired.
Wow,
Yep.
amazing.
So we have no access to them whatsoever, and I don't think there really is anybody that's currently employed by the township that can give a first-hand account of what actually happened.
Why is it necessary for them to be in employment with the township? I mean, they have they witnessed or observed something. I mean, it could be.
You're going over spilled milk. The addition's there, it's
You gotta
done.
deal with reality.
Yeah, the addition's there, it's done, and we don't need to waste everybody's time. And I'm in your favor, it's that you're not building out, you're not building down. Neighbors already know it's there, and they've dealt with it for 30 years plus, whatever. It's there, it's done.
I think we've cut through this. If there's a motion not to oppose it,
I
I
make
think that
that.
would solve the problem.
Yes.
I make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any more discussion?
Yeah, I just have another question, which is, I presume you looked at this, but have you, in your tear down plans and rebuilding plans, have you looked at going to the rear yard and to the front yard as opposed to retaining the side yard, extra bedroom and family?
Yeah, unfortunately, in any direction we would move, we would be running into the same setback issues.
Okay, yeah. It's a small lot. How big a lot is it?
It's 100 bucks.
Look at the diagram.
No, it's 100 by 150. 150 by 100. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we've had the motion, it's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Move forward.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank
You
you.
tell Jerry
Good luck.
Johnson that you're here and
Yeah, we didn't
what
have
the
it.
result was. You can tell the solicitor at your hearing that you explained to the board and they were opposed.
Thank you very much.
No, thank
Good
you.
evening, thank you.
Thank
Do
you.
you guys want these back, if you're gonna give them to the?
Oh, you want to,
If you can keep them, or we'll take.
I would like to keep mine.
you want to keep yours?
Whoever doesn't want theirs, we'll take them.
Here,
I'll be attending the meeting, I'm sure, but I just
Right.
wanted to. So you don't have to.
for the sake of saving paper, good idea, Martha.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's one more. And Bill, just for the record, as an individual, one can attend the zoning hearing board.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and the only thing you can't do is say, I speak for the Board of Supervisors.
Correct.
right? Although you would be permitted to report that the board heard the application and did not oppose it.
Okay. Thank you.
You let it go.
Okay? All right, moving right along, everybody. Motion to appoint interim replacement trustee for the Schuylkill Township Police Pension Plan and the non-uniform pension plan,
Thanks, Jack.
pending the return of the township manager.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Who are we?
Who are we appointing?
Yeah, who are we appointing?
Do we have a?
I think we need to table this motion, go into executive session and talk about, it, and come out and make the motion of who is going to be the
Okay.
trustee.
That's fine.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Everybody agree?
Make a second.
Okay,
Yeah, we're getting the read
I
from
second.
Bill
I'll
here.
remove mine.
okay,
Getting a read from Bill
all
here.
right. Resolution ordinances,
Hold on, Fred.
Wait a minute.
It's not personnel, labor.
we can do that.
I just don't know whether you go into executive session to do that, just a moment. It's not litigation, it's not labor, it's not,
But we're
Well, it is
talking,
personnel.
it's personnel matters.
trust, a person, an individual trustee?
Yes.
All right, okay, personnel,
Yeah.
all right, so personnel,
Yeah.
you have-
Give me a break.
That hurt to double check.
Moving right along, everybody.
Crossing all the Ts and.
Resolution ordinances, public hearing must be held prior to any vote to adopt a zoning or saldo ordinance. Motion to approve the resolution 2014-05, authorizing application to 2014 Phoenixville Country Community Health Foundation grant for the Freedom Trail feasibility study.
So move.
Second.
What is that?
That is the feasibility trail.
Did we get the,
This is the grant application.
It's a grant application.
okay.
And there's a committee, Barbara's on it, Mary's on it, and I don't know who else.
Martha
just a
and
grant
representatives
Okay,
from
that's fine.
Everybody
Freedom
but me, yeah.
Foundation and the Friends of Valley Forge Park.
Yeah, I know.
And in Mary's absence, I'll work, the grant is due this Friday.
Okay.
And
No, no,
so-
no,
It's half
I'm
written
fine.
already, right?
Pardon me?
Half written already, right?
Yeah, I wrote the other
to
one,
complete,
but we need to cut and paste so we get it in order for
Okay.
Dr. Beccaria to review.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion? We have a second? All in favor? Aye.
I got it.
Opposed? So moved. Moving to subdivision land development. A motion to approve escrow release number 8 for the Valley Forge subdivision in the amount of $43,530.32 per Gilmore and Associates, letter dated December 17th, 2013. I make that motion.
I'll make, you made the motion?
Go ahead.
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Second?
So I second
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so moved. Got that, Marla?
Just a quickie on this, and Mary Lou can verify, but this looks like we're talking about infiltration, stormwater.
And-
Work that was done,
And we,
and that's the work that was done, basically. I looked at this because there are, this development has sort of been in freeze mode
yeah, it has been.
for years and years and years, and so I was wondering what was going on.
Jim Morrison's gonna sign it first.
They're trying to catch up and lower their letter of credit.
Okay, all right, that's my comment.
I'm gonna sign that. Okay, we just got in this late this afternoon, a motion to approve the letter of extension to the February 17th deadline there for both the Reeves property and 876 East Phillips Drive. So I'm sure you've read the letter.
Yes,
They
I
wanted
did.
to extend it, but they don't really have a date.
Yeah, it was very
Have it
vague.
open.
Well, let me explain. Under the MPC, we are obligated to
That's right.
make a decision on what we call the by right plan and the other single lot plan by a certain date.
That's
If we
right.
don't act by that date, then they're granted a deemed approval of the plan. So we've been going through this kabuki dance here for years, where they ask for an extension, we grant it, so that we don't have to make the decision. Now, we can decide at any time. If we approve it, it's approved. If we deny it, we have to have reasons, and then it will be appealed to court. So they're keeping their options open. If for any reason they choose not to do the PRD, they may revert back to the demand a decision on what we call the by right plan. So they're keeping their options open. Now, we can decide, we can vote on the plan anytime. This is their request for an extension, which gives us the authority or the power not to decide if we don't want to. But if we want to decide and clear the decks of this, we can vote yes or vote no.
But since they haven't submitted a plan, we can't really vote
Oh, no,
on
they
it.
have submitted.
The
We're
by
talking
right,
about
the
the by
by
right.
right
This is
has
the
been
by right
approved
plan.
and
Okay.
gone through the whole court system.
Okay.
Yeah, the by right is sitting there.
Okay.
And, we can't force it. Well, you have the right to decide it. You can turn it down.
Okay.
If you turn it down, you're starting World War III, and we're going to court over it.
Exactly.
And there's no sense going to court over a plan that will probably never be built.
You can always make that decision later.
Yeah, and that's the idea of the extension. The MPC puts us in this box. The law says that when the plan comes in, a board of supervisors must decide thumbs up or thumbs down by a certain date. If you don't act by that date, they're given thumbs up as a matter of law. That's called a deemed approved. Their plan is deemed approved, and a deemed approval is a bad thing for supervisors and the solicitor. So we try to avoid that.
Would you recommend that we send this back to the Planning Commission to review
No,
it?
these
No.
are ministerial. This is just timing.
Just as they're
There's
not ready
nothing
to
for
come
them-
forward.
That's what I
to the
thought,
Planning
but just
Commission.
No, I would not
hearing
send
your
it-
criticality of it, that's why I wondered whether we ought to,
I would not send it anywhere. I think it's in your best interest just to approve it as is and file in the drawer. If
Okay.
they ever want to move ahead.
Well, you only got, it's a February monthly meeting,
We
that's
have
it.
another meeting, but I would act now and forget it.
Okay,
Fred,
Sure.
I want to get Bill's read on this as a modification of the motion. A little more detail, maybe.
It's not necessary.
Not necessary.
No, it's clear enough.
All right.
okay, we've had the motion, it's been seconded. You've heard what Bill has had to say. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved. 2-minute reports, and any more? Additional business?
Yeah.
Okay.
Couple of things. One is, well, maybe a couple, three things. I sent an email out this afternoon relative to a bit of a bombshell relative to the Pennsylvania Historic and Museum Commission proposing that our whole township be declared a historic district. And so you'll see that email. My question is basic, well, there's a number of questions, and more than three, but what structures will be affected? What restrictions will be placed on the owners of these structures? What benefits do the structure owners and township derive from such a categorization? So food for thought. Basically, I'm urging the chair of the Historical Commission to make this a front and center agenda item on the Historical Commission's meeting to discuss it, because there's a vote going to be happening on this by the commission, the Pennsylvania Historic and Museum Commission, on February 4th.
Right?
So,
Don't we have a say in it?
Well, here's the point. Vis-a-vis the Freedom Trail feasibility study, this is very, very vague. It says Chester and Montgomery counties, Valley Forge Park Historic District, multiple municipalities. Now, it may very well be that a distinction of having something historic declared by the state and the federal government could be beneficial to get implementation money, okay? If you have a contributing structure in an historic district, that leads to greater amount of funding. The question is, as Jim pointed out, the vagaries of this. It talks about multiple municipalities, but I doubt very much whether it would include any, there will be a prescribed geographic area that would be declared or voted upon to be an historic district, okay? And not only that, it takes a pretty long while. Do you think Phoenixville's historic district encompasses 1,500 structures going from the French Creek up to 2nd Avenue and the library? Everything beyond that, historic or not, is not in the historic district. It took Jane Davidson 2 years to actually formulate the nomination and get it approved. So I think while this is going to be voted upon, I would be happy to call Jennifer Horn, who I know quite well from the Historic Preservation Department, and check with her. I don't want you to get scared about this, that everything is.
I don't know what it would limit.
None of us
any
do.
Buildings or growth, especially in this
Yes,
area.
exactly.
I mean,
There are
if they're gonna
pluses and
come in and
minuses.
say, hey, you're not gonna do it,
That's-
I'm not for it.
Exactly.
I'm not for government, bigger government.
It's nothing to do with bigger
It
government.
is.
What it has to
Government
do
getting
with
their
is a
hands on everything.
designation of particular areas of geography.
They got it, they got the park. There it is, Valley Forge Park, right there.
Well, there's, there is addendum to that, and our name is Schuylkill Township. And if we have a relationship with the Friends of Valley Forge, as well as Valley Forge Park, and the Freedoms Foundation, and the Valley Forge Christian College, which as of today owns the National Christian Conference Center, and what this Freedom Trail grant is to create a connection between Valley Forge Park and the Schuylkill River Trail in either Schuylkill Township or Phoenixville, depending on how the feasibility study turns out. That is not inhibiting development in any way. It is enhancing various substantially important historic and culturally important properties that are already there, and giving something to our residents that they don't have. So you don't have to, if this feasibility study proves to be positive, Kevin, you wouldn't have to get your car to go to the park. You could get out and ride your bike or walk the Freedom Trail to Valley Forge Park without having to get in your car and without having to worry about killing the opportunity for commercial development on 23. Okay? So I don't want you to be worried about this.
A couple of comments I have to make on this. One is that Barbara should be working with the Historical Commission on this, particularly since she's been sent this email.
Yes.
And, so you ought to be handing glove on this. And secondly, I appreciate the emphasis on the positives, okay? That's fine. But it's what you don't see that can come around and bite you. For example, East Goshen Township was concerned about having to adhere to Section 106, which is referred to in this detail here, of a federal act, which essentially says that you've got to have a review from a historical standpoint of any structures involving the federal government that might include, for example, the cell tower. Okay, because the FAA and the FCC can come into play here. Those are the feds. So, it can take a sort of a circuitous loop as to the impact of what this means.
Right.
So,
It
that's
depends on the geography, though.
But that's right. I mean, so there's a number of things that have to be looked at pretty
There's a lot of
carefully.
unknowns that need to be answered.
You're exactly right, Martha.
So that's my first thing.
I mean, I
Okay.
really don't think someone should be voting on it without having our
We're not
insight.
voting. We're
Well, I know
just-
we're not, but they are.
Yeah. Exactly.
They shouldn't be voting for
Well-
something that they haven't asked our opinion on or our thoughts on.
Yeah, but
And I think it's wrong. I
Well,
mean,
not only that, Kevin, but if you go by this message from them,
yeah.
they talk about Chester and Montgomery counties around Valley Forge Park. What does that mean? I mean, how far does that radius go?
I mean, I wonder what were two different responses to
As
that.
Martha cogently stated, the unknowns are greater than the knowns, and it all depends on the geography. By including multiple municipalities, it leads us to the question of, okay, which piece of property in the given municipality?
Is this an item that should be brought up at the regional planning?
Not at this time. Not at the, precisely because the regional planning is only Chester County, okay? If we were involved with the Lower Providence or Upper Providence, it might. It has to do, think about the communities on both sides of the river that border Valley Forge Park, remembering that Valley Forge Park extends to Paulings Road, okay? And that's Lower Providence Township. So we're talking about Upper Marion, we're talking about Upper Providence and Lower Providence within the confines of a particular geographic boundary. What that is, I don't know. None of us know at this moment. But we have to do investigatory work. That's all.
So how do we get the answers to these unknown questions?
I mean, it sounds like, hey, we got to pass the law first and let's read it, type thing.
No.
And I'm not a fan of that one either. Pelosi.
Just to get a little more.
I don't want you to get all worried because of a statement.
Hold on. Just to get a little more specific here, there could be some structures, shall we say, in Phoenixville that could come under this radius. There could be a structure or two in Charlestown Township.
And I agree with
that could
that,
come under
Jim.
this radius.
But
So
my question
therefore-
is too far away, I'm sorry.
Therefore, to go to Fred's point, should we put this in front of the Regional Planning Committee? I think they should be informed.
Possibly. I
why I
will
said
work
that.
with
Yeah.
Sandy and the Historic Commission to find out more. I have Jennifer Horn's phone number at home, and I'll give her a call.
Okay. But meanwhile, I think it's incumbent upon us to at least check with our neighboring municipalities.
I do.
See whether they have gotten a heads up on this.
Right.
I would think they would because it's Chester County, right?
Different right there.
So,
All right, everybody.
all right, now, I've got a couple other things here. Christian College.
Yeah, but can we get, should we appoint Barbara to get in touch with these people, investigate this, and then report back to us?
Oh, you don't have to
Make it
appoint them.
official, or do you guys just want to just do
I would be
this?
happy to do that for the board.
Okay.
All right.
I think this is important that that you really should
We
come
need,
back to us
there's
with
so
this.
many unknowns.
Right.
We really need facts with regard
Yeah.
to geographic boundaries in
Okay,
all
we already know that,
various
we already know that.
municipalities.
That's, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Go ahead, Jim.
Thank you.
All right. Switching subjects, the Christian College, I just wanted to bring the board's attention to, and I know you got a copy of this, the Phoenixville Regional Planning Committee did a review of what the Christian College is proposing to do with their field houses in Charlestown Township. And the consultant for the Regional Planning Committee's response was, there's not enough information for them to actually make a conclusion on whether it's consistent with the regional plan or not. So, just so you know, there's a paucity of information coming out of the Christian College relative to the actual planning of this thing.
Well, there's two things. We've contacted Dr. Mayer to have a representative from them come in and give us a discussion on it. It's number one. Number two, which I was going to bring up in additional business, which we haven't done, and I didn't bring it up under the reorg council. I would like our liaison to be able to go back to their regional planning and tell them that if my colleagues agree to it, that we're contemplating that we might drop out of the Regional Planning Committee. I don't think the avenue that they're going on, they don't have any business, they miss meetings. I don't think it's what it should be, and it's not going to cost us any more money to get out than it is to stay in. It costs $20,000 to stay in, it costs $20,000 to get out. It's a pro quid quo situation as far as monies are concerned. But I think they've got to be aware that we are contemplating the possibility that we could drop out of this.
Well, I will report as a liaison to the regional planning, as you all voted this evening, that we as a board are personally disappointed in the lack of activity and proactive. If you remember that the legislature passed there was legislation passed last year that would give the opportunity for public-private partnerships. And
But they don't run our township.
No, but they-
you're missing the point, Brett. All I'm trying to say is the regional planning, when I brought that up, and you all passed a resolution to try to move forward with this, and I noted at the regional planning that we had voted in favor of reaching out to different municipalities that I was prepared to do on both sides of the river, they sat there like they were asleep.
I understood that.
So
And the same thing with their
personally
person, their
disappointed.
solicitor that was there, is
So,
also she.
I think there's going to be some new faces with the person on Borough Council who was there last year will not be back, and Claire will not be back. She's no longer a supervisor in West Vincent. So let's see what some new faces and a new year will bring. And I plan to bring up some interesting thoughts as well for them to be more proactive.
I'm still-
I just have to make a comment that the consultant for the Regional Planning Committee, Liz Lankinoff, has consistently done highly professional, what I consider excellent work in terms of not only analyzing each proposal thoughtfully, but doing it making recommendations in a way that do not cause angst or ruffle feathers unnecessarily. Okay, and so
I agree.
I think we need to give credit where it's due on that score. But yes, there are issues with the rest of the workings of the committee that I'm prepared to help work with Barbara in trying to make.
Well, whatever you can decide, that's fine. But I also spent a year as the liaison from this township, and I was not impressed in any manner, way, shape, or form of how they act, what they vote on, and such. I think some of their plans and some of the background, the comprehensive plan, is quite good. But all in all, I don't think it's worth the money.
Well, I would say that this past year was my first year on the regional planning. And I brought up several things, and in each case, they were very passive, unfortunately. And yes, I will admit to being an optimist and seeing the glass is always half full. But I do think that if you work towards something, and the pluses of being part of a regional planning group are terrific if you are willing to work to make things happen. And that's the key. Are they willing to work to make something happen, to have private entrepreneurship create infrastructure and a rapid transit instead of PennDOT, which we know is
Well, you know,
never
Barb,
going to
I'm
do
not
it.
even sure that you need to get that far with it. I think just making sure that the Regional Planning Commission members work together, period. Right now, they're not.
Okay, that's enough discussion, but anyhow,
All
you,
right, all right. So, wait a minute, okay, just to continue one more here. I made my point on that. The last one was, involves the Christian College again. And I hope you all noticed the announcement on this, that they have been given, and I say given underlined exclamation point, the National Christian Conference Center.
Yes.
Okay, which means that we now have a whole different view of who's the owner is and what we can do with that property from an open space standpoint, from a trail standpoint, so hopefully.
we'll be hearing from them,
Yeah,
so.
we can work with them.
And in a positive way, Dr. Meyer helped to write a piece of the grant for PICO with this understanding in mind, Jim.
Okay,
I can't agree with you totally on all
all right,
that.
that's it, Fred.
Okay. There any public participation at all? Okay. Thank you very much. I would like a motion to move an executive session for litigation and personnel issues.
Make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Thanks, guys.
I'd like to reconvene our meeting, Schuylkill Township Board meeting. We have two motions to make. The first one we'll make is the, excuse me, the motion to appoint the interim replacement trustee for the Schuylkill Township Police Pension Plan and the non-uniform pension plan, pending the return of the township manager, and I recommend that Martha Majeski, our treasurer, be appointed to that.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Thank you. The second item is I would like to make the a resolution of the Board of Supervisors of Schuylkill Township, District County, to appoint an acting township manager of Madeline.
Harbison.
Whereas the Township of Schuylkill Township's desire to maintain a day-by-day operation of the township, whereas the township manager will be unavailable for a certain period of time, and therefore be it resolved that the Township Board of Supervisors hereby appoints the Township Secretary, Madeline Harbison, as acting manager of Township, pending the return of the Township manager, so resolved the 6th day of January 2014. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
You want to sign it?
I hear a meeting to adjourn the meeting. Any other finished business?
Hey,
So moved.
I'll make, second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so moved.
Okay, which copy of the resolution?